Thanks very much. I'd like to call to order this open session of the Audit Committee. And so I would like to start with item number 3, which is the Rise and Report closed session. We went through a report from BDO Woody, and we also went through the annual report to the Board of Trustees, and we decided to defer the risk assessment and regional internal audit plan till next meeting, so we could make a reasonable time to get to this open session. Okay, everybody okay with that, Trustee Cameron?
Yes.
All in favor of receiving that? Thank you.
Aye.
So we'd like to start with acknowledgement of traditional lands, please.
The land upon which we work, live, and sustain ourselves is the ancestral and treaty lands of the Michizagig Anishinaabe, also known today as the Mississaugas of the Credit, the rightful caretakers and title holders of this land. We also recognize the rich pre-contact history and relationships which include the Anishinaabe and the Ongwe-Hongwe.
Since European contact, this land continues to be home to Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples. As responsible community members, we value the diversity, dignity, and worth of all people.
Colonialism displaced and dispossessed Indigenous peoples of their ancestral land
and continues to deny their basic human rights, dignities, and freedoms.
We are committed to learning true history to reconcile, make reparations, and fulfill our treaty obligations to the original peoples and our collective responsibilities to the lands, water, animals, and each other for future generations.
Thank you. Moving down to item 5, we have an agenda in front of us. Like a motion to approve, please. Trustee Cameron. Second, Trustee Alves.
Aye.
All in favor? We're good.
Here.
So item 6 is a declaration of conflict of interest. I will pause for a moment for any members to declare one. Seeing none, we will move on to the approval of the minutes of the Audit Committee of September 26, 2024. We throw these on the floor. Trustee Cameron, Trustee Alves. Question?
Aye.
Yep. Questions, concerns, complaints? Seeing none, all in favor of receiving?
Here.
Done. Thank you. Item 8 is delegations. I did not receive any delegations. So if we can move down to item 9, reports from officials and staff. 9.1 is the draft consolidated financial statements presented by Tanya Charles.
Thank you through you, Chair. Again, in the interest of time, I will go through this quickly, but I'm hoping to leave a few minutes for questions. I would like, first of all, to thank the many members of my team that helped make this year successful and help put these financial statements together. I'd also like to thank BDO. Unfortunately, they did have to leave, but again, they really worked closely with us to make sure that we closed on time. So this year had several very significant financial events. The implementation of Bill 124, settlement of collective agreements, and the implementation of new accounting standards. So this impacted the financial statements this year and required restatement of some of our prior year numbers. There's also significant additional new note disclosure. I hope to go through some of them, but I will leave that to you unless you have some questions. So I'm going through the financial statements. I will try to focus on the major variances and changes and hopefully give you a sense of sort of what transpired this year. So first, I'm going to go to the consolidated statement of financial position, which is the first schedule in the financial statements. You will see that 2023 was restated. More information can be found in note 2. But this restatement was required because we adopted PS 3160, which was the public and private partnerships standard, which was mentioned by BDO, where we now have to recognize some of the partnerships we have with organizations around our playing field. So we had to bring that within our financial statements, and we had to restate our 2023 numbers, and note 2 actually shows the changes that occurred from that perspective. Moving on to the actual numbers. You will notice a cash and cash equivalents, there's a significant decrease. As in the past, the ministry has implemented what they call a delayed grant, which allows them to withhold some of our funding and still receivable to us. However, they hold it in terms of so that they can get the interest rather than us. And they do this through various calculations. You will note that the decrease this year, and the reason was that in last year, we actually had made sale of several properties, and when they calculated our cash holdings, they I guess deemed that we had too much cash on hand, and they withheld more monies from our grant. Moving on to the next larger one. Moving on to accounts payable and accrued liabilities, you will see a significant increase. Again, that's mainly due to the accruals that we had to make at the end of the year for additional Bill 124 payments. And these are relating specifically to the PVPs in OPSU and some non-union. And the reason is that Bill 124 was settled at different points during the year. For a lot of our union groups who were able to pay it out within our fiscal year, whereas for the PVPs and OPSU, we have accrued the amounts and OPSU has already been paid out, and the PVPs will be paid out shortly. Looking at the deferred revenue, the next line, you will see a decrease of about 5 million. Most of that decrease is related to some write-up we had to do for the inventory of PPE we still had on hand. So we had a lot of PPE through COVID, and we were holding that in inventory, but looking at the expiry dates, a lot of those have now expired, and so those we released. Going on to the retirement and other employee future benefits, you can see that there is an increase here. Most of that increase is related to the fact that our WSIB costs have increased in year significantly. And that's reflective of what's happening in terms of our workforce and some of the requirements that we have there. Net debenture debt continues to decrease, and that's the repayment of our debentures that we prior had debentures in terms of financing our capital. The ministry no longer finances capital through debentures, and so this continues to decrease. And the ministry does provide the funding both for the capital and the interest components of the debentures repayments. The deferred capital contribution, this is reflective of our capital purchase net of our depreciation. So in this year, we had capital purchases of about 31 million, and our depreciation was about 99 million. So you see the net there. Going down, I will speak to, again, the inventory line, because I spoke about it a little bit above. You will notice that our inventory supplies has dropped significantly to 130,000 from 5.2 million. And again, this is directly related to PPE that had expired, and so the amount left is sort of what's still on our books, but probably will be gone by next year. And the capital, tangible capital assets, again, is reflective of the fixed assets that we had net of our depreciation, which I spoke about above under deferred capital contribution. Any questions on the statement of financial position before I go on to the next page?
Just the item on page 27, where we missed budget by quite a bit. That is related to what you were saying about the
page. Yeah. So I think through you, Chair, I think you're referring to note where it talks about the salaries and expenses.
That's right. That's due to the bill.
Correct. So, so page 27, our financial statement, or note 15, you will see significant increases in both the salary and wage and benefits component as related to both budget and to our actuals of last year. And that is directly reflective of the 5 years of retro that we had to do. So the first 3 years were related to Bill 124, and the next 2 years were related to the contract settlement. So in this year, we've either had to pay or have accrued the obligation to pay within the salary component. So I'm just going to go back to the consolidated statement of operations, because this is where we talk about our sort of our P&L or profit and loss. On that page, you will see basically our grant revenue, and again, similar to what the chair has mentioned in terms of our expenses, our revenues have also increased significantly in terms of our grants, and that is again because the ministry is funding us for both the Bill 124 and for the retro payments. Looking at school generated funds, you can see that there is an increase here as well, and it seems that we are getting back to our pre-COVID levels. So last year we're still about 24 million, and so we had budgeted only 25, but we actually have more or less recovered in terms of the activity there. And so those would be the funds that you see there, and there's a corresponding similar expense within the school generated fund expenses below. Looking at so fees and other revenue sources, which is the last line of our revenue. You can see that this line has decreased from what we had originally anticipated. A lot of that is due to the fact that EDC revenue, which is the educational development charges, have continued to be slow and even slower than last year. So that's really the predominant item there. And that has been, we did have some increases in international student revenue though, as well as some facilities rental. So there's been a bit of increase to offset some of the decreases there. I won't go through a lot of the expenses only because the lines instruction, administration, and people accommodation all have salary amounts, and that's why you'll see significant increases there as well. And I will mention briefly transportation. The transportation has higher fuel costs of about 4.1 million, and we did get some funding to compensate for that, although it wasn't a direct offset, but we did get some there. Again, just looking at the other expenses, again, there's significant, well, about $8 million increase over what our budget was. And that's because we had not budgeted for the PPE write-offs. But again, that's not an actual cash cost. We had deferred revenue and that offset it that way. So most of that jump is around our write-off of our PPE. And so on that page, you will also see our annual surplus deficit. So that's the revenue minus our expenses. You will see that we had initially budgeted for a deficit of 1.3, and we are at 18.8. So from that perspective, we have a higher deficit than anticipated. From a ministry perspective, we're close to what we had gained approval on, and so we will have to go to the ministry for a small adjustment to the deficit that we have. So with that, I will open up to any questions.
Thank you so much. Let's put this report on the floor. Trustee Alves?
Aye.
Trustee Cameron?
Yes.
Any questions, concerns? Seeing none, all in favor of receiving this report? Thank you.
I am here.
Down to audit 9.2, the audit committee work plan. Tammy, you have the floor again.
Through you, Chair, I won't go over the work plan detail because I know we want to get to the other item, but the work plan itself is similar to what we normally have. And it basically shows what we do in terms of covering off the requirements under the reg. And this meeting is one of our substantial meetings that covers off a lot of the external audit, internal audit work, as well as the compliance. So if anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Great. Let's throw this on the floor. Trustee Alves, Trustee Cameron?
Yes.
Any questions, concerns?
Nope.
Seeing none, okay. Down to item 9.3, compliance report for fiscal year led by Desmond Gill.
Thank you, Chair. Attached to the report is a letter signed by our director confirming that during the year 23-24 fiscal year, that nothing has come to our attention that lead us to believe that the board was not compliant with any current federal and provincial acts, regulations, and statutes.
Fantastic. Can we put this on the floor, please? Cameron Alves, yes.
Here.
Any questions? It's not our signature on it, so. Okay, and all in favor? Got it.
Aye.
Great. So item 9.4 is the audit committee report to the Ministry of Education, presented by Tanya, please go ahead.
Through you, Chair, this report that you see in front of you is the report that needs to be filed on a yearly basis that speaks to the audits that were performed in year by REACT. And so you will see on this report both the transportation audit follow-up that was presented in year and also the guidance counseling service audit that was completed. However, I know it was presented, but it was actually presented in 24-25. So that's why it says it was completed versus presented.
Excellent. So can we throw this on the floor? Trustee Cameron, Trustee House? This has my signature on it, and I don't have any issues, but if any of you do, please speak up now. Seeing none. All in favor? Thank you. We have it. Okay, so now we will go to the 9.5 PDSB Regional Internal Audit Update. Paula, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you. Through the chair, this is just our routine update that I present at every meeting. There are a couple of things that I wanted to highlight. The 2 engagements that we have outstanding from last year are both underway. The HR related one, fieldwork is well underway, so we have somebody working on that. The other is the cybersecurity audit. That one, we have developed the scope and I am ready to bring in a third party to complete the audit. So that is on my to-do list next week to start that process. Beyond that, we have our follow-up activities and the risk assessment and audit plan. And I just wanted to point out as well, to help to address the concerns that the committees had regarding the timeliness and to accelerate our progress on engagements and follow-ups, we will be starting the process to fill our vacancy once the current round of audit committee meetings is over. And in addition, we are also looking into bringing a co-op student to help us out, just to make sure that we get some more assistance, especially on our field work. So that concludes my update. I'd be happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Fantastic. We throw this on the floor. Trustee Alves and Trustee Cameron. Fantastic. Yes. Any questions, concerns?
Yeah. Yes, Mr. Chairman, just a flag through you, sir. So yesterday at the Governance and Policy Committee, we reviewed some contractual confidentiality policy around co-op students. So I would just as a friendly reminder for staff to ensure that that policy is being taken into consideration if we bring a co-op student in to review some audit findings.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. Okay, so all in favor of this report here?
Aye.
Move in second. Okay. Yep. Cameron and Alves. Yep. And all in favor? We're good. Okay. Aye. So we have committee member motions for consideration. I did not see any. Committee member notices of motion. I did not see any. And this is the last meeting for the year. Thank you so much, everyone who has helped me through this. And whoever's in this chair next meeting, I wish them luck. So item number 12, adjournment. Trustee Cameron, Trustee Alves, all in favor?
Here. Aye.
Thank you. We're out. Thank you.